Hey everybody, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. It is a snowy, cold Thursday in Lubbock, Texas, January 9th. I hope all you guys are doing well. Hope you're staying warm. Hope you got home, got you something warm to eat, got you a fire going or something, nice blanket or something to keep you warm tonight. It's cold out here. I know it's cold all over the place, but it's cold in Lubbock. And we got snow on the ground, and I think everybody handled it pretty good. I guess I've been in the building all day long, and so it's not cold in the building. Really, feels pretty good in here. It feels good at the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios right here in Lubbock, Texas, and we're on the radio at 98.7 Walk by Faith, Lubbock Christian Nation, 1420 AM. So, yeah, I hope you guys are good. We're streaming. If you got something that you want to talk about tonight, send us a text, 806-794-0400. Send us a message on social media, and I'll be glad to answer any of those things for you. And that's what we'll do. We're in Foundations Week. It's first week of the year. We're talking about things, just the foundations of things, the fundamentals of things, the simplicity of health. It's really not that complicated. Being healthy is not that complicated. So it's so funny because we mess it up so easily, and it's not that complicated. It's not like building a watch. That's what my football coach used to say. Coach Winder, he was a mean old fella, and my quarterback coach at Texas Tech, he used to say that all the time. He said, "If you pull that off, I'll build you a watch." And so I guess I just always figured building a watch was kind of hard. Being healthy is not hard. Being healthy is not hard. And a lot of us are not healthy. So it makes you wonder, what are we doing? What are we doing that's making us so unhealthy? So this week, we've been talking about foundations and fundamentals, right? We started off the week with innate intelligence. Because if you get that, really, if you haven't watched it, you should go back and watch it. You should go back and watch Monday's show. Go to the Walk by Faith Facebook page. Come to our Facebook page. Go to YouTube. Go to X. Any of those, you can find us and watch that Monday night show and listen to me talk about innate intelligence. Because if you'll figure that one out, you'll start to understand. One of my patients, I'm texting her right now. She said she had to miss this morning because she's got the flu. And she just got through texting me, and she said, "Pretty sure I could smell my insides burning last night." Her fever was high, she said. Fever was kicking, right? He said, "I let it run all day today," and then gave me a smiley face. Right. Okay. What's fever? What is fever? What's happening in the body when your temperature goes up? Is that innate intelligence or is that a mistake? Right? Have you ever thought about that? Is that innate intelligence or is that a mistake? What exactly causes your fever to go up? Cytokines to the hypothalamus from the white blood cells telling when the fight is on. When the flu virus shows up, when the virus or the bacteria shows up in the body, we have an army, we have Marines inside our body. We've got some special forces inside of our body, and they go to kicking tail, right? They go to, I mean, it's a bloody mess in there. They go to just they're just taking that virus out, and there's like, here comes the reinforcements, and here comes the reinforcements, and bam, 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 and the first thing that happens is, man, turn the temperature up in here. Turn the temperature up because we need some heat. We need some heat to kill this virus and this bacteria. So roll the temperature up. So the signal goes out from the white blood cell to the hypothalamus, turn the temperature up in here. That's innate intelligence. That's an intelligence inside your body that is so smart. It is like it's the spirit of the universe inside your body. Nobody teaches us that. From time where I never learned that when I was a little kid. You get a fever, take a Tylenol. Got to get your fever down. Got to get your innate intelligence down. That's what you got to do. You got to dampen that innate intelligence. Why? Because it feels bad to have a fever. Good Lord. When did feeling good come into play? Right? When do we decide that we had to feel good all the time? Like sometimes things are a little bit uncomfortable, but it's like, just hang on a second. That's the best thing you can do, is let that innate intelligence run. You ever cut your finger? You ever cut your finger on something? Like you slice it, or you get a paper cut or something, or the other day I poked it with the um, little pair of scissors, just stuck my finger and just like, you ever cut your finger and then, like, I've cut my fingers before, but when I look at them right now, I can't see where they were cut. Like, there's a couple scars on here where I touched that oven when I was in 6th grade, cooking those cinnamon rolls, and I touched the top of that oven with that oven mitt, and I was trying to turn those cinnamon rolls around, and I touched the top of that oven, and that little burner burned that oven mitt right to my finger, and I didn't think about it, and I just ripped that oven mitt off my hand because my finger was on fire, and that's a scar that's been there ever since. Yeah, I can remember that, but it's healed up, right? It got healed up by what? How does a cut heal? You ever had a blister on your foot? How does that heal? How does that work? That's innate intelligence. You did not teach your hand. I did not teach my finger how to heal that burn. I did not teach my fingers how to heal any of the cuts or scrapes that I might have had on my fingers. I didn't teach my body how to raise the temperature whenever it was fighting a virus or a bacteria. I did not teach my body how to digest an apple. I did not teach my body how to grow fingernails. Right? All that stuff is innate intelligence. Your body just knows how to do stuff. And your innate intelligence is really, really, really smart. And if you can figure out the best environment to put your flesh in that is congruent with your innate intelligence, you'll express health like crazy. You'll express health for a long time. You'll just go right through this whole winter and you won't be the one with the flu. Did you take your vitamin D? Am I taking vitamin D for any other reason than giving my innate intelligence the best opportunity to express health and wellness? Right? What about fish oil? Am I taking my fish oil? You know what I heard today? The pills are too big. Those big old pills make me choke. I was like, well, we can get you some smaller pills or drink some water, right? We could drink some more water with it. Because you probably eat pancakes that are a bigger bite of pancakes than that. You probably eat some biscuits that's got a bigger bite than that pill. You probably eat some steak that's got a bigger bite than that pill. Don't have any problem with swallowing the biscuits. Maybe it's not, maybe we can do it. But we do it to give our innate intelligence the best opportunity to express itself. That's what we're trying to do with health. What we're trying to do with health is do the fundamental things that we need to do, like eat well, move well, and think well, as Dr. Chestnut says. We need to do those things in order to give ourselves the best chance to win the game. That's what we're doing with innate intelligence, right? That's what we're doing with exercise. That's what we're doing with nutrition. That's what we're doing with sleep. That's what we're doing with our social life. That's what we're doing with our brain. We're doing all those things. So we talked about that on Monday. On Tuesday, we talked about we got adjustments. We got the nervous system. Yeah, forgot. We talked about the nervous system on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we talked about nutrition, and tonight I want to talk about exercise. And I want to talk about it from a standpoint of innate intelligence. I want to talk about it from a different process that you may have never heard before. It comes from a lot of the philosophy that it comes from is this CrossFit training guide right here. It is one of the best written philosophical exercise programs that I've ever been exposed to in my whole life. I love CrossFit methodology. I love the idea of CrossFit. It gets a really bad rap, but I don't care. I was a quarterback for 16 years. I got a bad rap a lot of days. I was a coach for 6 years. I got a bad rap during those days. Um, I coached at New Mexico State for 3 years. Yeah. But I lost to North Texas twice when I coached at Texas Tech. You talk about a bad day, but people say bad things about you, right? I wasn't that bad of a coach, but that day it looked kind of bad. People say things bad about you. And then I became a chiropractor, for all goodness sakes, right? If I don't, if you get, you got to have thick skin to be a chiropractor. You get a lot of sentences said about you that are really bad, right? And a lot of, not you guys, because you guys, we all love each other on this show, but some people out there, believe it or not, they actually do say kind of bad stuff about chiropractors, which makes no sense to me, but that people do say it. So they say bad things about CrossFit too, and I think what they're saying is based on two things. Number one, ignorance. They don't understand the methodology. And number two, the misuse of the methodology by young people. I think young people take the methodology, they go off and become CrossFit people. They push the limits way beyond what they're supposed to. And it goes too far past what we ought to be doing. And people end up with some injuries, and then they end up saying bad things about it. I think if you control it, and you do it the way that it's supposed to be done, I think it's great. And what I've done is take it. And we started our 6th year this week. We started our 6th year in the office doing exercise, 6 a.m. and on Monday morning. We got classes that we do, and it's our 6th year that we've been doing it. And it's the best thing that I've ever done in my whole life. I love it. I love the CrossFit methodology. I love the time that you can do with it. I love the activity. I love the range of motion. I love the full body exercise. I love the whole thing. I love the science, the philosophy of it. I just cannot say enough things about Greg Glassman. No matter what's said against that guy for his own personal decisions and all that stuff that he's made, one of the most impactful people, one of the best teachers, and I got all the respect in the world for the work that he's done. I think it's just fantastic. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about exercise. We've got a couple of articles we can get to if we get through this slideshow with exercise. I got a slideshow for you guys on the radio. If you want to come listen to the Walk by Faith radio, the Facebook page, you can check out this stuff. And if you want to come over to any of our stations, you can check it out as well too. But we're just going to walk through it, right? So just remember, we're gonna take some philosophical approaches to exercise, and then we're going to get into how do you build your exercise program, and what does it mean, and how does it work, and we're just going to do some of that. So, what do I know about exercise? Some people will argue very little, and I won't. That's fair. I may not know much about it at all. My dad was a high school football coach on the day that I was born. I started going to football games at about 2 weeks old. I was born in October, and they were still in football season. I went to track meets and watched people run when I was 4 years old, 5 years old. Dad would one night he came in, I remember I was about to go to sleep and I was in kindergarten, and he said, "Hey, would you rather go to kindergarten tomorrow, or would you rather go to a track meet with me?" And my face just got a big old smile on my face, and my eyes just lit up, and I was like, yes, I would rather go to the track meet with you. So I got to skip school when I was in kindergarten and go to a track meet with my dad. It was awesome. And watch those guys run and just exposed to athletics, go into the weight room, go to practice. Used to go about, I don't know, probably 2nd, 3rd grade. Used to go to practice and blow the horn to change the periods. When I was a little guy, football practice, being in all that stuff. Been around athletics my entire life. Played football all the way through college, coached college football for 6 years, got a degree in exercise and sports science, got a master's degree in sports administration, got a doctorate in chiropractic. Like, I mean, I've studied I've studied a few things, and I've been exposed to some of the highest level exercise people on the planet. And that's why when I say that that I love CrossFit, I'm not saying it as a novice. I'm not saying as someone who's never been around exercise before. I'm not saying as someone who didn't. I mean, I've gone through workouts in college, Division I level football. I mean, I've performed and been in football games and played at football games at large football stadiums and all that sort of thing. So I'm really not that smart about it, but I've been around it a little bit. And so what I want to talk about tonight is my perspective on exercise. It's really not anybody else's perspective. It's my perspective on exercise. What do I think? What is a good program for you? If you're listening to my show, because I know the range of people that listen to this show. I've got really high-powered athletes that listen to the show, and I've got very poor health people that listen to the show, and I've got everybody in between, right? But for the most of you guys, I think that what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be pretty sound. It's going to be good. And the reason I say that the young kids mess up CrossFit is because they get too intense. They try to push the limits or they get too competitive. And I'm not that way. At 54 years old, I'm not that way. But 6 years, I've been doing it since 48? I guess, yeah, we started it in January of 2020. So I was 49 when we started it. And if you do it right and you understand it, I think it goes a long way. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of this stuff. One of them right here is according to Spark Research. I love this book. If you guys don't know this book, it's John Ratty, MD, wrote a book called Spark. Spark is a great book. It's a simple book. It gives you a lot of information about exercise, the revolutionary new science of exercise and the brain. So it's really good about exercise and the brain. Another a guy that you might not know so much, but it might be good to follow, is a guy named Tim Noakes. This is a book called Waterlog, but you can look up Tim Noakes, Noakes. He's an MD. Tim Noakes has a lot of information about exercise that you might be interested in as well. And then, of course, all the CrossFit stuff. So 5 or 6 days a week of exercise, based on research, is what actually does the best for you in the long term. But what they found in long-term studies of people that exercise, the people that get some activity 5 to 6 days per week are the ones, it beats 3 to 4 days a week. 5 to 6 days a week beats 3 to 4 days a week in exercise. So there's something that you can move. Now, you can do exercise in lots of different ways. Some people say, well, I worked all day long and that was exercise. Well, okay, maybe 1 or 2 of those days you can use that of being on your feet and doing a lot of walking from work, maybe. But you need to add some things to that if you're really going to keep yourself healthy. And I'm going to break that down here in just a second. So what is fitness? If we're going to say, how do you know if you're fit? How do you know if what you're doing is working? What is the goal that I need to achieve for fitness, right? Because it gets kind of complicated when you try to answer these questions. And what I love about the CrossFit group is because the scientific approach of how you actually measure fitness, how you actually measure, and this is straight out of the CrossFit book. This is talking about work capacity. And it's like, okay, how much work can you do? And then the question is, what does work mean? What really, fitness is work over time. How much work can you do over time? And that would be a way to measure something. It's something that something that is measurable, and we'll get into that in just a second, okay? So work is force times distance. So how would I measure force times distance? Well, I didn't bring a dumbbell with me tonight, but if I was holding something, I don't know. Nah, this book's not. Look, I'll use a bottle of fish oil, right? So let's pretend this bottle of fish oil is a dumbbell, and I'm holding it in my hand right here. And let's pretend that this dumbbell is 10 pounds. And I move this dumbbell, so times distance, force is 10 pounds, and distance is, let's say I moved it 2 feet. That's not 2 feet, but let's just say that I moved it 2 feet. Then I could measure how much work I did. I did 10 pounds times 2 feet. That's 20 foot-pounds of work. I can measure how much work I'm actually doing, right? So now I can start to say, okay, well, I did some work today. All right, how much work did you do? Well, I can measure it out. How much weight did you lift? How about doing a push-up? If you put your body on the ground, you could measure the force if you knew how much you weighed and how much pressure you're putting. And then if you pushed your body off of the ground, you would be able to measure the amount of work you're doing, how much force, the weight times the distance, and you would get your work. Okay? And all of the things that's done in CrossFit has at some point been actually measured when someone does a power clean, when someone does a push press, when someone does a pull up, when someone does a sit up. All of those things actually have force and distance in them together, and so you can measure the work. And now, power is work over time. So I've already figured up my work. I've got 20. I've taken 10 pounds, I moved it 2 feet, I've gotten 20. Now, how fast did I do that? How much time did that take? So let's say that it took 2 seconds to push that weight up. That 10-pound weight, it took 2 seconds to push that weight up. Okay. If it took 2 seconds, so I got work is 20, divided by time is 2, then my power output is 10. Are you with me? Power is work over time. I've already figured out what my work is. That's force times distance. So I already know my work is 20. And now my time is 2 seconds. So 20 divided by 2 seconds. And then my power output is 10. Well, what would happen if I cut the time in half? What if my time was only 1 second? So now I'm going to go, my work is still 20, but I did it faster. And it was only 1 second. Well, work is 20 divided by 1 is time. Now my power doubled to 20. You see that? You see how that worked? So power is intensity. So you say, well, how intense is your workout? Well, it's not a random sentence. It's not a random answer. You can actually, if you really measured it and you really timed it, you could come up with how intense your workout is. You could say, okay, look, today I'm only able to move 10 pounds up, and it takes me 2 seconds to move it. But after a period of time, after I get more fit, after I get better neurology from the brain to the muscle, after I get a more fit pattern, then I cut that time in half. I can increase my power. I can increase my intensity. And I think that's valid. I think it's a great idea. I think it's, I mean, I don't know if it's just a left brain concept or whatever, but to me, it's there's something to it right there. And then, so how fit am I? Well, how much work capacity do you have? How much can you do over time? If we were to take And what CrossFit says is they take this idea of the hopper. They take all of the exercises that you could possibly come up with, and you just write them on a little note card and throw them in a hopper. And then you take that hopper and you just turn the wheel on that, and then you just pick something out and you just do the exercise. Maybe the exercise is 25 push-ups. Okay, so we get 50 people to do 25 push-ups, and then we graph on the graph how long does it take them to do it. And then we get pull another exercise out of the hopper. And then it's the 400-meter run. So we do the 400-meter run, and we see how long it takes, and we see who can do it the fastest. And then we plot all that stuff, and we graph them all out. And we can now measure work capacity, and it's based on fitness. And you can take all these exercises from a 1 rep max on the bench press to a marathon over on the other side, and you could take all of those different types of exercises, and you could take 50 people and run them through 10 different exercises, and you could actually measure who was the fittest person. Now, that's the part that it gets young people in trouble. And when we come back from the break, because we got to take a break, I'll talk about that, and then we'll keep on moving through this exercise. You guys stick around with us. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we will be right back right after these messages. I'm sure that this type of I'm sure methodology has been around for a long time. The Cooper Clinic and all the exercise stuff that they've done, all the Nautilus and all the things that have happened that over years of time and different kinds of methodology and all that sort of thing. And I'm sure there's similar patterns that overlap. And obviously, it's not the only way that you can work out. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's lots of different ways that you can do things. I just like the idea of understanding what I'm doing when I'm working out. I just think it's beneficial to me to understand the intensity level and how I can increase my intensity by doing a couple things. One of the ways I could increase my intensity is increase my force. Instead of having a 10-pound weight in my hand, I could have a 20-pound weight in my hand. Now I move 20 pounds 2 feet, and I've got 40 as my work capacity. And if I do 40 in 1 second, then I've increased my power, which means I've increased my intensity from if I do, less weight, 10 pounds. So I can measure and I can keep up with it in a really simple way as I'm going through time. As I'm doing it over time, I can keep up with it myself and say, okay, look, this is where you were, and this is you need to be, how many push-ups can you do in this 40 seconds? Or this 20 seconds or this 30 seconds. If it's on the clock and you've been doing 10 push-ups in 30 seconds, well, now I'm doing 15 push-ups in 30 seconds. Now I'm doing 18 push-ups in 30 seconds. Now I'm doing 22 push-ups in 30 seconds. Man, I'm getting better. I'm getting more fit. And it's not just an opinion that I'm doing it. It's tangible. It's tangible information that lets me know that. So, okay, here we go. Okay, everybody, we're back. We're talking about foundations. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're talking about foundations of health, and we're talking about fitness tonight. And so what I was about to say before the break is you get this intensity and you get this work capacity over time, and you see who can do it if you take 50 people and see who can do it the best. And then all of a sudden it becomes competitive over who can do it. And there is a little bit of competitiveness to fitness. It drives you. It's social. Number one, it's social, and that helps you stay involved in what you're doing. Number two, it pushes you to be better. So there's some definite benefits to the competition, but you get too many kids involved and they try to push it too far, and it's like it can get out of hand. It can get out of hand a little bit right there. And Greg Glassman said the same exact thing. The CrossFit Games wasn't what he was really trying to do the whole thing for. He was trying to do the thing for health and fitness. So let's take this fitness and then let's move it and put it on a scale. And I'm actually going to switch these around just a little bit. But let's take fitness, which we've already defined as power over time, intensity, work over time. We got it, right? So we've got this third dimension that we're going to add in, and we're going to say work capacity now over time. It's not just it's over our age. It's over a long years. How much work can you do over the years of your life? When I saw that right there, what is health? It blew my mind, because I was like, the work capacity over time was like, wait a minute. If I was to take the Rock Health and Wellness Center and I was to plug in that definition, would I hold up to that definition? And I didn't. I didn't hold up at all. This was back in 2019. I didn't hold up at all when I did that. And I had to immediately challenge myself and say, dadgummit, what are we doing? Like, we got to do better with the Rock Health and Wellness. If it's health and wellness, what is health? Okay, now that's when we put a gym in our building. Now we got a gym. Now we can do health. We can measure that stuff, because we can do fitness and we can measure fitness, and we've been doing fitness, and it's making us healthier. It's one component. Fitness is not the only component. Nutrition, social life, brain function, sleep, all those other things, there's some components to health, but it is definitely a component. It's definitely, if you want to be healthy, you've got to exercise. You've got to exercise. You may get your exercise at your work. You may be walking a lot. You may be doing those sort of things, but you got to have your body be able to move if you want to. One of the things, if you watch the Blue Zones, I don't know if it's Netflix or Prime, but if you watch the Blue Zones on one of those, what you'll see is one of the places in Okinawa where they live the longest, and they always live the longest, is they sit on the floor. They don't have chairs like we have chairs in the United States. They don't have chairs at their house. They sit on the floor. So these 90-year-old people that they're interviewing are sitting there on the floor. How'd they get on the floor? They sat down on the floor. How'd they get off the floor? They stood up off the floor. The people in Italy, they found out that one of those little islands in Italy, what they found out was the villages that had the steepest, because those little islands are built on mountains, the villages that had the steepest roads were the ones that had the healthiest people. Exercise is vital to longevity, okay? And it's over time, not just how much exercise could I. That's where I missed the boat. I went from birth to 29 years old in the athletic world, and then I went from age 30 to age 48, the next 18 years outside of the athletic world. I just took exercise for the most part out of my whole life. Why did I do that? I have no idea. Did I get fat and out of shape and unhealthy? Yes, I did. Was it embarrassing? Yes. Did it have lasting effects on my family? Yes. Did it decrease the amount of impact that I had in my ministry? Yes. All those things are true because I took fitness out of my daily routine for 18 years. It was mixed in there every once in a while. And yes, I knew I was supposed to do it. And yes, I knew I should be exercising. And yes, I was embarrassed every time I had to go get a bigger pair of jeans, because I promised myself I wouldn't ever get in a bigger pair of jeans than that. And then I couldn't get into my jeans, so I had to go get another set of jeans. And then I promised myself I was never buying another bigger pair of jeans than that. And then I had to go get another set of jeans. You guys, some of you guys have been there and know what that feels like. It's not inspiring. It doesn't make you feel good as a human being when you get unhealthy. It doesn't make you feel good when you let yourself go because you're not doing the foundational things, the fundamental things that it takes to be healthy, right? And you're not alone. We're all in this thing together. But one day I just decided, for lots of different reasons, I just decided, dude, enough is enough. And who did I call? I called my CrossFit people. Why did I call my CrossFit people? Because they were the best looking, healthiest looking people that I've ever seen in my entire life. You can see them when they walk in the room. It's like, holy cow, like they're just good looking folks. So I went there and I started this journey, right? So work capacity over time. And then the idea, the little box on the bottom there, the idea of sickness to wellness to fitness. And that little arc of, if you just drew a half circle and you said sickness was on one side, wellness was in the middle, and fitness was on the bottom right side. If in order for me to get from fitness to sickness, I got to go through wellness. And I was like, yeah, that's great. That's great. If bad blood pressure is 185 over 110 and wellness blood pressure is 120 over 80, fitness blood pressure is going to be, it's going to rock in there about 105 over 65 or something, right? Heart rate, same thing. If wellness heart rate is 72 beats per minute, fitness heart rate is going to be 58, 60 beats per minute. Sickness heart rate is going to be 98 beats per minute. So if I'm fit, I got to at least go through wellness before I come into some sort of chronic disease. And I thought that was a great way of looking at it. And so I think that's a good idea if I can measure my health over time. Okay? So how do you build a workout program for yourself? Well, it helps if you understand 3 different systems. Okay? It helps if you get these systems down, because you can build it yourself. You just have to understand these 3 systems, these 3 energy systems. And it's the phosphagen or the phosphocreatine system, the glycolytic, and the oxidative. And those are the 3 systems that, if you understand how they work in your body, you can build yourself an exercise program that fits in little blocks, and you can do a great job with it for yourself. Now, you'd be better off if you joined a group of people, because the social aspect is vitally important. It is the component and it's great for your brain. It's really good for your brain, and it keeps you on track. Part of the reason that this is the 6th year in a row, I've done more exercise in the last 5 years that we just finished, from the age 49 to age 54, I've done more exercise in this last 5-year period of time than I did since I played football at Tech in the 1993 football season. Even when I was coaching, and even during the 6 years I was coaching, I didn't exercise the way I have the last 5 years. And part of the reason is because I had a social environment. I had a social group that depended on me. Like, I've committed to the whole thing. I mean, I committed to I laughed because I put all the equipment on a bank loan, and I just paid the bank loan off last year. And I laughed because one of the bankers that was a patient of mine, that I tried to get a bank loan from, said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to loan you the money for that. And it took me about 24 hours to get the money from someone else. And I wanted to send him, the devil in me wanted to send him an email and say, hey, that fitness program that you said we weren't going to do good on, you wouldn't want to take a risk on. Well, it's all paid off now. But that's an aside. Never mind. The social aspect of it keeps you on the hook. When you have friends that you work out with, when you have people that are counting on you, not just in your house, not just on Zoom, where you lock yourself in your house and you just do that, because as soon as you want to cheat, you can cheat. You have to have an extreme level of discipline to keep yourself on track over time with that type of workout. So if you at least have a social group together, it's really good. That's what I would highly recommend. But understanding what you do in the gym and understanding these three different energy systems, I think is very important to, I don't think it's important, I think it's advantageous. I think it gives you more value in your definition of exercise to understand these three systems. So let's go through them right quick. The phosphagen system, or the phosphagen pathway, or the phosphocreatine pathway, that's when you very first start to exercise. Like if you've already warmed up or whatever, but they say, okay, 3, 2, 1, go, bam, let's go. For the first about 10 seconds, because you gotta understand, exercise is like, in nature, exercise is running from the lion or the tiger. In nature, over thousands of years, people didn't necessarily go work out. They didn't go work out, right? They were forced to work out for either for survival or for food. They had to walk. Think about what hunting was back in the day. If you had a rock or a spear and you figured out how to do a bow and arrow, like you'd have to walk for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you'd have to burst into this sprint, chase after something and throw that rock at it and try to hit it, or throw the spear at it and try to hit it. Or if you were in war with some other clan, like you'd have to sneak up on them in an attack, or if they snuck up on you, you would have to run, right? So you have an energy system that is ready for that moment right there. And that's what this phosphagen or this phosphocreatine system is. It's the 10-second, immediate, quick burst, powerful move. Quick, really quick. It's like if you're doing a 1 rep max on a bench press. If you got put the weight on you, bring it down, pow, real quick. It's going to last less than 10 seconds. It's a very high-powered movement, very quick. It's like all of a sudden the tiger jumps, bam, I'm going, I'm moving away quickly. I have energy inside the cell that's stored up, ready to go, allows me to go really powerful and really quick, but it's only going to last for about 10 seconds. It doesn't give me very much energy. Like it's not going to make energy. It's anaerobic, which means that it doesn't use oxygen. It doesn't have to have, you don't have to breathe to run away from that tiger immediately. You just take off, right? But the problem is you run out of that phosphocreatine really fast, and so it's not going to last. This dominates in repeated short burst exercises. So if you just did repetitions over and over of really short burst exercises, it's kind of what Dr. Tabata did, for you guys that are familiar with Tabatas. But that's a 10 second. That's what a Tabata is, right? A 10 second. No, a Tabata is a 20-second workout with a 10-second rest. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's as quick and hard as you can for a very 10-second period, and then rest, and then repeat, and then rest, and then repeat. And that's what you're doing, is you're using this particular pathway, okay? That's where one of the things is, like when people say a supplement with creatine. So they use a creatine supplement, and now it's like, okay, creatine supplement. What you're doing is you're basically loading that cell, because your body is going to take that creatine and turn it into the phosphocreatine, and then now you can use it for the pathway. Now, it's still not going to get you very far, but it is going to get you a little bit longer. So if you're using heavy weight and you're trying to really gain muscle mass, and you're using heavy weight in short bursts, and you supplement with creatine, you give yourself an advantage to do that exercise to last longer during that exercise. Okay, so that's the first pathway. Then the second pathway is what happens after 10 seconds. Now you've got this next pathway that's like, it's kind of a transition pathway between anaerobic, without oxygen, into aerobic, meaning with oxygen. It's kind of the middle ground between the two. So this glycolytic pathway, it lasts from 10 seconds to about 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes. You've kind of got this transition of, it picks up when you start to run out of this phosphocreatine, it picks up and it uses the glucose that's stored and the glycogen that's stored in your muscles. So when you have excess amount of glucose in your bloodstream, that's what insulin is helping you do. Insulin is helping you insulin will dock with the insulin receptor and help take glucose out of the bloodstream and put it in the cell. And so now you've got this storage of glucose called glycogen that's in your muscles. And you can use this glucose and this glycogen for this moderate power. It's not the high power anymore, but it's from 10 seconds to 2 minutes-ish, 2.5 minutes. That kind of time frame of exercise is this particular pathway right here. And this is where you get into the interval type training or high intensity interval training HIIT workouts. And so you're going to do high intensity, but you're going to do it for 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes max. And you're just going to repeat this pathway over and over and over again. That's the next one. That's a glycolytic pathway right there. Okay? Then what happens if you go past 2 minutes? Now what happens if you have to chase that antelope down for a long time and before you ever get to him? So you got to run for a long period of time. You got to run for way over 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and now you got to go down the road. Well, the next one is where you get into your aerobic pathway, or your oxidative is what another word for it. And this is the 2 minutes to marathon time. This is what those guys are doing when they're doing those ultra marathons, and they may go all day long, or you may do a 100-mile bike ride or whatever, right? This is where it's low power, it's aerobic, it uses oxygen, you got to breathe while you're doing it. It burns carbs, and when you run out of carbs, it starts burning fat. So now you're gonna start to change that energy source. So if you're ketogenic, whatever, then that's where you're going to run into, you don't have to use the carbs now, you're going to use the fat, and then you could put it in there, and it dominates during longer duration exercises, and it doesn't make energy quickly, but once it starts making it, it makes a lot of it, and it lasts for a long time. And that's the oxidative pathway. So you've got these three pathways: the very quick high intensity pathway, the moderate intensity middle stage pathway, and the low intensity long-term pathway. Now you can put yourself together an exercise program for yourself by setting up, just taking those three different pathways. And what the CrossFit methodology does a lot of, and what we do here at The Rock, is we do that middle 3 minute, 2.5, 3 minute pathway the most, because we can actually get aerobic capacity. We can increase aerobic capacity through the glycolytic pathway. So we don't have to necessarily take the time to do an hour-long run, and we can move it down, and we can get aerobic capacity, because what is the point, right? What is the point of all this exercise in the first place? What are we trying to accomplish? What we're trying to accomplish goes back to what I said to start the show. What we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to give our we're trying to put our body in the most congruent environment possible for innate intelligence to express itself. If exercise was a nutrient, how much nutrient would we need? What is the proper dosage of exercise to get the maximum health benefit? Too much exercise, I will argue, is not good for you. Too little exercise, obviously, is not good for you, but there's something in the middle. Well, the same thing when you look at these different pathways. You can look at these different pathways and say, I need to work all of these pathways. I need to kind of mix them up. And there are times I need to go aerobic. I need to go low intensity. And it's hard when you get a bunch of CrossFitters together because they want to go full blast all the way through. It's like, nope, you got to drop it down. Drop it. When you're doing aerobics, you got to go low intensity. Like, drop it down. And if you don't have to do anything, you don't have to go low intensity, but you'll get better. You'll get a proper energy. You're working the proper energy system. Okay. And we're not even talking about the benefits of the brain. That's why I love the Spark book so much, because it goes into all the details of how exercise combats depression, and moving and exercise increases brain function and concentration and memory and all the things that go along with health. Exercise does that, and that's what they do. That's what Dr. Ratty does in the Spark book. All right, let's keep going. So, build your exercise program. The CrossFitters say constantly varied, high-intensity functional movements. Okay? Constantly varied. We just mix it up every single day. And the weightlifters get all fussy about it because they say you're not training anything. And I hear them talking about that, and I don't care. It's like, dude, you're doing you, and I'm doing health. So just do you. Like, you don't have to throw stones at someone else's workout program. It's like, just do you, and we'll do this. But you do this constantly varied. One thing that I love about it is it's causing my ankle joints to move. It's causing my knee joints to move. It's causing my hip joints to move. It's causing flexibility in my shoulders. It's causing my elbows. I've got to have core strength. Like, I've got full body, constantly varied. My brain, it's got neuroplasticity. Some days we work off of a beeper, and some days we work off of reps. So some days we say, okay, we're going to do 40 seconds on, 20 seconds to transition. That's 1 minute. We're going to do that we're going to do 4 exercises, and then we're going to rest for 1 minute. And that's a 5-minute round. And we're going to do that 4 times in a 20-minute period. Well, during that period of time, you don't have to concentrate on how many reps you're doing. All you have to do is just go off the beep. So it beeps. Okay, we're going to do push-ups for 40 seconds. All right, go. And you start. And that's kind of a long time to do push-ups, but you're doing push-ups for 40 seconds, but you don't have to think about reps. Well, then the very next day, we're going to say, all right, we're going to ride the bike for a minute, and then we're going to do 3 different exercises, and we're going to do 8, 10, 12 reps. Okay, well now, number 1, you have to know what you're doing, and number 2, you have to count your reps, and you have to know this exercise I'm going to do 8, this one I'm going to do 10, this one I'm going to do 12. What is that doing for your brain? When you constantly vary every single day what you're doing in the gym, you have to pay attention to what you're doing in the gym. You have to know the sequencing of the new exercise. You have to pay attention to what's on the board, and you have to think when you get tired. That's another thing that is great. I think you should mix your HIIT and your aerobics. I think you should, and Dr. Bredesen says in the End of Alzheimer's book, he talks about being metabolically flexible. He wants to be ketogenic and use glucose. to do that both for your brain so that you have flexibility in your ability to handle systems. I think it's important to be flexible in your exercise as well. I think there's times, 2 or 3 times a week. If you're trying to really get fit and competitive, then increase it to 4 or 5 times a week, do your HIIT. But you don't have to. But do your HIIT exercises 2 or 3 times a week. Do your aerobic exercises 2 or 3 times a week. Go for a long walk. It takes more time to do that, right? But you can go for a 45-minute, hour-long walk. Do that 3 times a week. Do the HIIT exercises 3 times a week. Give yourself a chance to be metabolically flexible. I think that's a great idea. Okay? Safety, efficacy, and efficiency. And man, we ran through this, and I ran out of time with all this stuff. So I'm gonna stop right here. We only got 30 seconds left. I want to stop right here, and then I'm gonna pick this up tomorrow night. There's only 2 slides left. There's this one, and then talking about tips for safety. So, but this slide right here is kind of cool. It's a cool conversation. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And then we'll pick up some more of it tomorrow night. So if you got any questions, you got any comments, leave them for me. Send me a text, 806-794-0400, and then we'll finish up this tomorrow night, and then we'll kind of wrap up the weekend foundation. So you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.